You need to have a life outside of architecture. I think that's why I love
True.
architecture. Because, it's like a sort of like a relationship. Ayan na.
Ayan na.
Ayan na. It's sort of
So
like, okay, it's sort of like
relationships.
having a boyfriend. Architecture is my boyfriend. But I need some time away to miss my boyfriend, So when I get back to my boyfriend, it's like seeing him again for the first time. So I need to do like other hobbies.
You need to be whole without him.
Yeah. It's like, I'm not so dependent on it. It's like a passion, It doesn't feel like work. It's not supposed to feel like work. Yeah. Is that a weird analogy?
That is
I
a
think that
good
makes sense. That
analogy.
perfectly makes sense,
So weird.
though.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to Babble Station.
Yo,
I hope
hello.
you're all doing well. Today, we have a very special guest for today's episode. So you might be familiar with her already online, but apart from that, she has actually been a long-time supporter of the Babble platform. Not only that, but she actually just recently graduated from Archi School and is currently just starting to explore the professional world of architecture. So, Jean, let's give a warm welcome to Niña.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. So thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to start this podcast with you guys.
Nice. So, how are you feeling today?
I'm a bit nervous.
Oh, don't worry.
I'm a bit nervous, pero magkakilala naman tayo lahat-lahat. So,
Yeah.
okay lang. Chill lang.
So, before everything else, how are you? And
What
how's
have
life
you been
lately?
up to?
Yeah, and what have you been up to?
Wow, how am I? Okay, so I've been very busy. As you guys know, I just graduated. I'm now working. I'm now practicing everything I've learned from college. And because of that, I've sort of like put my vlogging career on hold. But that's what I'm sort of trying to balance. Like, so that's what I'm up to. Mostly nasakop ng Archi. Ganun. Pero okay lang.
You mentioned that you recently graduated.
Mhm.
So, what's life right now?
So actually, something that people don't know is that after my graduation, I took a year off or a few months off. I think 9 months.
That's normal.
That's
yeah.
normal. And I was just traveling. I was just making content. I was in Dubai. I was in New York. I was in Florida. Yeah, it's pretty much.
Also, you've been maybe working on your vlogs. I think I've seen a few.
Yes. Honestly, I've gotten because I used to travel as a young kid, and to me it was just like for fun. Like, oh, I'm just here to like look at cool stuff. But now, after studying architecture, I gotten much more appreciative of because all of the places I've been are all like architecturally like iconic architectural buildings. So fun fact, since you guys brought it up that I love traveling and I love architecture, I know you guys probably have seen my main account. It's Nina Stephanie on Instagram.
Oh, yeah,
but
yeah.
you guys should check out. I have another account. It's called Architect Nina, and that's where I feature all of my travel photos. Because actually the bio of that account says it is the intersection of art, architecture, and the algorithm. So everything related to art, architecture, and maybe I'm gonna include starting, AI. So everything there. You guys should check it out because I get so tired of my face. So I have to like post like things that I like. Because you know what they say, like there's like a saying like my eyes are sort of like my taste buds. You know what I mean? So
Since we're already like talking about you applying what you've learned in college, especially what you've
Learned in your travels.
yeah, in your travels then. So, do you have like any experiences that you could share or any realizations in architecture school since you're already a graduate?
everything I've learned, actually, most of the things I've learned are not so. I mean, obviously the technical stuff, like how to use certain softwares. But if I've learned anything in architecture that I actually do apply in my social media content, is that the importance of being proud of your work.
Oh.
Because no matter what happens, in the end, you have to be proud of your work. So whenever I pass a plate or whenever I upload a vlog, I always ask myself, am I proud of this? Because we may never know if people would like it, people will watch it. But what matters is that I'm proud of it, I'm contented with it, and that it's me. It's very authentic. What else did I learn? Actually, what's this? This is something I've learned with my very first Babble talk. So I don't know if I should be talking about this already now because it's too early, but
Yeah, go lang.
I've been to like 3 events of Babble. So you guys know I'm such a fan
You've
of you
actually
guys.
been like a long-standing supporter of the platform.
I'm now working and I'm still like in touch with you guys, and I started getting to know about Babble talks even before I started freshman year. So anyway, so my very first event that I attended, architectural event, was actually here, Babble talk, and I remember after that I posted on Instagram something I've learned, and it's that if you're choosing a career or something you want to do, don't focus so much on the money, on the fame, or the status. Focus on the things that make you feel alive, because what the people or what the world needs now are people who are alive. So honestly, if you just do something you're very passionate about, and plus you can't really avoid what you're pretty passionate about. Like you could say, oh yeah, I'm getting so much money in my accountant job, but you know, part of you is very creative and you can never ignore that. So just face it.
Yeah, lalo na sa field natin, ang hirap maiwasan na parang
You're comparing
Yeah.
different, parang measurement of success kasi is different for each person. So
Yeah.
it's kind of hard to, parang you're doing internal comparisons na parang I'm at this phase pero this person is at this phase. Parang
Yeah.
medyo nakaka-overthink. Pero as long as you're really passionate about what you're doing, that's really important. So, ikaw, personally, ever since you're really passionate about architecture, kasi
Yeah, I know, right?
ever
I
since
know.
before college,
Mhm.
grabe.
So I am like the first architect in my family. None of them are architects,
Ooh.
but one thing we all have in common is that we love the arts. And so what started my passion for architecture was that, I don't know, it's just something that just, like, have you ever had, like, do you guys have like architects in your family, or
actually no.
like it just
I'll be
It's
the
like-
first
it's like-
architect in my
yeah,
family.
it feels like a calling. I don't know, is that weird? And it's like, and I love the studying it so much that I don't mind doing it all over again. And I'm actually so passionate about it that in the future I want to be a professor and teach architecture. That's just how much
Oh.
I love everything about it. I'm just never tired of it.
I would like to commend you, like what you said earlier about you appreciating your own work, because not everyone gets to do that, right? Like there are some people na if may natapos silang work and all,
Parang they just wanna hide it,
Yeah.
tapos pass it discreetly.
yeah,
to the
tapos
prof.
that was in line what you said about the passion to architecture. Some people who still pursue architecture, parang the passion dies out of nowhere because either napapagod na sila, ganun. What I like about what you said is that your drive for architecture is still thriving. And since that you mentioned that you want to teach architecture,
It's a goal for the very long future.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, there are like people then who, aside from taking architecture, they also take a different path, right? So the passion there still is thriving for those kind of people.
And actually, that's what I've noticed with my friends and also me. Like sometimes, like I just get tired of it, like the work, the idea of working. And I think why I'm still very much in love with architecture is that I have other things I want to do, like vlogging. I love fashion, I love makeup, and traveling. And I think you need that, because if architecture is your world, then it's gonna be so hard. You need to have a life outside of architecture. I think that's why I love
True.
architecture. Because, you know, it's like a sort of like a relationship. Ayan na.
Ayan na.
Ayan na. It's sort of
So
like, okay, it's sort of like
relationships.
having a boyfriend. Architecture is my boyfriend. But I need some time away to miss my boyfriend, you know? So when I get back to my boyfriend, it's like seeing him again for the first time. So I need to do like other hobbies.
You need to be whole without him.
Yeah. It's like, you know, I'm not so dependent on it. It's like a passion, you know? It doesn't feel like work. It's not supposed to feel like work. Well, for me, it doesn't. So Yeah. Is that a weird analogy? But
That is
I
a
think that
good
makes sense. That
analogy.
perfectly makes sense,
so
though.
weird. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that perfectly
can't
makes sense.
You need to have a life outside of architecture. That's why I think lots of firms now are encouraging people to do like sports or other stuff. So, yes, if you are an architecture student, if you are an architect and you are so burnt out, I really suggest to like have other hobbies. Try it out. I have friends who are like good comic designers, and now they're also like rendering, you know. And I have friends who are good in marketing, talking, and now they're in project management and architecture. So you know, go. Just I think that's what makes you a great architect is when you also have other hobbies and passion.
Yeah.
passion
True.
projects.
Because, like,
architects are not just people doing CAD work,
Yeah.
are not just people designing spaces, but you're also integrating the different creative fields
Mhm.
when you're doing the design
Yes.
process. So for you, since one of your other, I guess, hobbies is content creation, how do you think that that kind of complements
Mhm.
your approach in terms of designing, or when you're making plates, or
Mhm.
right now when you're working?
Okay.
Mhm.
So the similarities between architecture and content creating or social media in general is that they both storytell. They like to tell stories. So how do I sort of incorporate architecture to social media and vice versa is that I just like to tell my story. Whatever it is, whatever if I'm designing a house, there is a story behind that. There's a reason behind it. And whether I'm vlogging about my work or fashion, there is a story behind that. So what they both have in common is basically storytelling. And what makes it great is that it's very authentic. You have to make it natural, nothing too stiff, nothing too pretentious. Because honestly, I think people can see right through you when you fake
True.
it. So just keep it real.
Parang as architects, when we do something or when we create something, it's very intentional.
It
Yeah.
has to be.
Lalo na in
It's
our
the only way
field.
to be proud of what you're posting, right?
Yeah, lalo na in our field na if we post something, that must have
Mhm.
a definition or that
Mhm.
must have meaning.
Whenever you
We-
post, like, yes, may statement to.
Because I think it's because in school we learn so much that everything has to have a meaning. Like, what is your design concept?
Totoo.
Your objectives.
Totoo.
Like, everything has to have a meaning now.
Yeah.
I think that's why we're so intentional with what we post now, even with their branding, right?
Mhm.
So I think that's why.
Ang galing nga eh. Kasi in the profession, like, parang what I noticed sa actual practice, the concept parang comes secondary to the utility
Mhm.
most of the time. Of course, the concept is important, pero syempre, another thing you have to balance is yung client satisfaction.
Yes.
So, meaning, if the concept kind of has to adjust for the
Mhm.
sake of the client, then yun yung mangyayari. Pero in school kasi we're taught na yung concept dapat yung
Yung una
mag-govern above
Yeah.
everything else. Everything has to go back na, okay, so why did you design it this way? It's because of the concept nga. Ang galing
Mhm.
lang na because we were trained to really enforce yung concept, even until sa profession natin na, which is hindi na ganun ka-important yung pag-retain ng integrity of the concept, we're still able to do it.
Like work life versus school, so different.
Yeah,
It's different now when you start working.
Oh, you just started working, diba? You
Yeah, I just
mentioned
started working.
earlier.
Very, 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 very different. Sometimes you're no longer a dreamer. You're now a thinker. You're not. Everything has to be
Logical.
more logical,
Practical.
more practical. That's the challenge now.
So, were there any new learnings that you've learned so far in your new work that is different from school or that's not taught in school?
Parang did you have a moment na, oh my God, reality check.
Yeah.
Ganito pala yun.
Okay, so fun fact about me is that I grew up in the corporate world because my mom would always bring me to the office. So, and I was always around her. So I always knew how people would work in the corporate world. Maybe that's why I joined the corporate world because I'm so used to it. It's second nature to me. But if there's one thing I've learned is that I guess there's just much more structure and you now have much more, we have real clients.
Mhm.
Like Mr. and Mrs. V are both real. No longer want the museum house. They want like a real house. And now you have building codes, I guess. Okay, what I've learned is that because like in school we have a project, a plate, and they only give us like maybe like 3 months or 2 months to work on it. This one can go for years. You know what I mean? Now I'm working on a project, and a project we're presenting, it's like researching, it takes much more time and everything. So the difference between school and work is that work is much more tedious, much more longer with the process. So you really have to love what you do, because you can't just be like, oh, I'm done with this project, let's move on to the next semester. You can't, because you're in it for the long haul, baby. Just kapit lang.
It's like a relationship talaga.
Yeah.
See? So you gotta really love your boyfriend.
Especially like long term.
It's long term siya. Long haul talaga siya.
Siguro, to add then a difference between what's taught in school and what is taught outside of school is that our designs itself can be limited because of budget and stuff. And also,
Your
if a lot of professions are involved, our original design might be changed and all. So I think that's one thing I've learned throughout just comparing school and the real world of architecture.
Kasi hindi naman talaga kino-compute yung budget sa school.
Yeah.
Parang we have no idea how much a gold-plated house will cost in reality. Parang pwede kami mag-gold-plated house sa plate. Like kahit yung buong wall interiors is gold-plated as long as it looks good.
Yeah.
Pero if you do that sa actual practice, parang you will not get clients.
I think it's great that they like in school they really start you becoming dreamers, to becoming very, very imaginative, because then you can now tone it down. It's much better than being so practical and then all of a sudden you have to be so creative, you know, personally. So yeah.
So you mentioned before nga pala na since you're starting out lang just recently sa pagiging archi, you had to put content creation aside. Pero you said din naman na you really love content creation in general kasi nga it's your form of expression in a way. So, nagkaroon ba ng point na opposite naman na naisip mong, oh, maybe someday I'll put archi aside naman tas really focus on content creation?
Yes. Actually, after I graduated college, I took a year off, right? And I was just content creating, focusing on that. I went full on everything, and yeah, I think yun.
Parang yun yung phase mo na parang a break muna from archi. You don't wanna think about it.
Yes.
Pero like in the future, do you really see yourself na parang, oh, maybe I'll focus on content creation na lang, or parang maybe some mix between the two na you're doing content na specifically archi? Kasi I noticed usually non-archi related yung ginagawa mong content.
Yes. Actually, so after school, because I started booming sort of like towards graduation or like my last year of college, I was like, wow, it's really working. This is like a good opportunity for me, and it seems like a good investment. So I was like, okay, let's try it out. Let's take risks. So I took a year off. I did it, and then at first I was really happy because, you know, this is something new. I don't have to stay up late. I have no boss. I'm self-employed. And then eventually, just like, you know, people who are very passionate about architecture, it just kind of creeps in, you know. And I started missing architecture, and I said I have to go back. And, you know, it's nice to finish what you started. Like, you know, I'm going to take my boards and everything. So, yeah, I think architecture will just keep coming back to me. It will just keep coming back. And I can't break up with architecture.
Parang
so
tinatawagan ka pa rin in the middle of the night.
I still think about it, you know. And you mentioned like social media, like what I post is not even related to architecture. I think it's because it's related to what I said before. Like, I want to have a life outside of architecture, because in my real time, I'm always studying. I'm always doing something else. So content creating is like sort of just like what you said, where I express myself and everything.
How do you like maintain the hype of the audience through
how to stay relevant?
Yeah, since na-mention mo na you were booming already.
Yes, it's
your last
so
year of
hard
archi.
to be relevant, and it's so okay. Something I've learned about and I think can be related to architecture. Something I've learned about social media is that it's so hard to be relevant and to stick to your values. You know, and that's a challenge, and that's where you're really tested, and that's where you really get to know yourself and your integrity. It's so hard because like there's so many trends that are happening, and then let's be honest, like social media is like a like a big space of like the weirdest and like coolest stuff. Lots of scandals that gets lots of many people's attentions. So how do I say stay relevant? I no longer think about, oh, I have to get the numbers, I have to do that. Because there was a time I had to face, I was looking at my statistics, my algorithms, and I was just like, how do I stay relevant? How do I stay in other people's FYPs? And I just told myself, like, no, you're going to be burned out. Because you know yourself, you know what was working in the first place. Stick to that. There's a reason why it was working. But then, eventually I've learned that you also have to make it more innovative, much more. And like something, I'm just going to give advice to you guys. Everything's going to be much more shorter now. So vlogs are going to be much more shorter. TikToks are going to be in, YouTube shorts. So bank on that one, like maximize that.
Actually though, if I could also like give a fair share of ano din, I've also like dived into content creating way before nung college because of my thesis.
Yeah.
And my thesis also like revolves around multimedia.
Yeah.
I tried to like tap on different content creating mediums like vlogging and then streaming or live streaming for like gaming and all. And then medyo na-relate ako sa sinabi mo na madali ka nga ma-burnout if you always track on your statistics. Tapos you always think of what to post next.
I mean, if people are gonna like it.
Yeah. I mean, I myself, at one point, I got so burned out and I literally stopped everything. Well, right now, thanks to my friends, siguro mga like small TikToks or small IG Reels, like, I still try to keep it alive, I guess. The world of content creating is really a hustle.
It really, and there's so much competition.
Yeah.
Because now everyone can be in it.
Yeah, parang to a degree, I think everyone, at least everyone on social media is a content creator. So halimbawa, if you're just posting for your friends or for your own personal viewing, parang you still try to make it aesthetic or parang nice to look at. And you, parang a lot of people really curate their feeds right now, especially sa Instagram.
Yes.
Even though hindi naman sila necessarily like may big audience, they still want to make it parang palatable somehow. So parang everyone's trying to gain an audience nga, especially in 2023. I think this was because of the pandemic then.
Everyone was at home. Everyone was just at their phones.
Yes, especially at their phones nga. So is it much more competitive now that you're trying to kind of stay relevant, na you're trying to keep your audience entertained? Pero how do you balance that and still stick to your values? Like, how does that work?
So I started content creating. I didn't actually think much it was a big deal when I was in, I think, sort of senior year high school to college. Like, I was just posting everything. I had like 15K followers, and now I have like 380. When I had 15K, I was still sort of doing the same thing I was doing when I had 15K followers. So I think what makes you stay relevant and to keep the viewers engaged is to let your audience and viewers grow with you. Grow up with you. You can't forever be that girl, I'm in college studying. You also have to start like talking about like, oh, your work stuff now, or growing up, adulting. So basically the secret is to grow with your audience and just be yourself so they can also resonate with you. It's the only thing I can like advise.
Kasi like if you're stuck na as this kid, parang you're going to have to pretend eventually just to stick to that.
Because you're not gonna be a kid forever. So you just grow with your audience. Ayun. I think it's, other than vlogging, it started with just posting anything I wanted to post. So in my Instagram, I like to put links of like what I wear, what I do, and it's just always been like that. Just came very natural to me. And vlogging started because it started during the pandemic. I was really bored and I was surrounded by vloggers. All my siblings are vloggers. So I was like, okay, let's try it out. And then eventually it just worked. It just really clicked. And it's sort of in my personality, you'd be surprised. Out of all of my siblings, I'm the one who's like more sort of like articulate. You know what I mean? But then I'm an introvert, so sometimes that clashes. But it started basically because I just wanted to post whatever I wanted to post about my life whatsoever in Instagram. If you guys followed me on Instagram, and then vlogging started because I got really inspired by my siblings, and I was like really bored during the pandemic, so I wanted to try something out. So yeah, those two things.
Since you mentioned you got inspired by your siblings
Yeah.
then through vlogging, and they started vlogging before you pa, were there any struggles along the way
Yeah.
before you peaked?
Especially since you already come
Yeah.
from parang a family
Yes.
of vloggers nga. Was that a hindrance
Yeah.
or was that something that worked
Yeah.
parang
Yeah.
to your benefit?
Yeah. Honestly, I'm gonna start by saying that I'm very much aware of like the connections I have, and, like the privilege, and that said, that's why I've always been so responsible in using what I have. But yes, it did help. I'm gonna be honest, it did help, and I think it's very obvious that it did. But I think one of the struggles is that, they sort of now have this idea of my family. Like we're all dancers, we're all happy-go-lucky, but I am actually like quite the opposite compared to the rest of my siblings. Like my personality is so different, and I just find it so hard to just like sometimes be myself, because I feel like I have to be a certain person that other people want. Like, oh, she should also learn how to dance, she should also be like streetwear, but that's just not me. So I don't do it. And was it easy? Of course it was sort of easy because I see it every day. It's sort of like nature to me now.
Especially like doing the content itself, like what you said, it's hard doing the stuff that you don't really do for content.
Yeah.
Because it won't create that authentic
Yeah.
feel,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, basically, content creators are not actors.
Honestly, if you think about it, the difference between a celebrity and a vlogger is that a celebrity, once they're done with the shoot, they're done, they're home.
Yeah,
A
true.
vlogger, our work is 24/7, because we talk about our lives 24/7, like all the time.
Yeah.
So like, I think that's why I wanted to go back to work, because at least my day ends once I clock out. Because when I was a content creator, it never ended. And it's not because I had the boss to tell me, hey, you have to keep thinking. It's because personally, I just kept thinking about, what should I do next? Was this enough? You know what I mean?
Totoo.
So that's like one of the cons of being a lifestyle vlogger content creator.
Parang you always have to be yourself.
Yeah,
tapos
always have to.
authentic.
It's so funny. You have to be yourself, but then you also lose yourself along the way.
Especially like for starters, right? You
Yeah.
really need like the basics
Yeah.
of becoming a content creator.
Mhm.
First, you need to come up with what you need
Yes.
to
You have to be
produce.
really, like what you posting, audience impact, engagement. Engagement is so important. And it's one of my favorite parts, engaging, like talking, replying. It's one of my favorite parts. But yeah, it's actually one of the reasons why people ask me, they're like, your siblings have been doing it like for 10 years already. You're just starting now. And I think one of the reasons was that I wanted to have a normal school life because I've seen how it changes how people treat you. And the privacy. It really changed. And yeah, I think that's the reason why I started vlogging like pretty much just recently, like later.
On your last leg.
On my last, because I want to have a normal life, normal student life. I didn't like it when people would be like, oh, by the way, she's like this big. I'm like, no, just keep it, let's tone down. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
lalo na yung profession natin na ang hirap na puro work. Like what you said, na we also need life outside
Yeah.
architecture then. So, yun nga, for you, content creating.
I actually, it's so I've never, I don't think I've told anyone this, but I actually have vlogs from school. Like I vlog about my school. I just didn't want to upload it because I was scared at first it would be like illegal in their college.
Oh,
And
it's not illegal. We
if-
have a lot of
and-
creators.
And I don't know, but I've always been like filming, vlogging everything before I uploaded it in YouTube. It's just only now I had the guts because I was about to finish school. So, yeah.
Yeah, lalo na yung mga like yung mga students these days who were locked in during the pandemic because of online. And with that, those students like try to explore stuff online.
Yes. And I'm so happy some of them are so successful now, honestly. I'm so happy when people get big online because I know how hard it is to post online. And I like it because they're just being themselves. You know what I mean? And that's what like the social media community needs now is people who are real.
Especially on TikTok.
TikTok.
Lalo na
Oh my God!
early
TikTok!
pandemic pa lang, that boom.
Oh my God! Yeah, my sister's like one of the top TikTok creators now. And it's all because she was bored. Honestly, I think that most of the content we did during pandemic, I think what people find really entertaining, the reason was that because we were just really bored and we just wanted to post content because it was just very entertaining.
Parang nag-hit lang at the sweet spot where everyone wanted to watch for some reason. Tapos you had the content.
And it feels great because it was not forced. Like, it just came naturally. Like, we were never really forced to do anything. So it just came naturally. And we're just so happy that not only our parents watch our videos, other people too. So, yeah.
And now, like, speaking of trends then, do you have like any social media influences in terms of personal design preferences since platforms like TikTok, Instagram boomed during the pandemic and became so very relevant na tipong dun na minsan nagre-rely yung mga tao in terms of aesthetics or in terms of like ano pwede mabili online and all. So how does it influence you?
I'm thinking, how did it influence me? I'm not sure.
Or you've always just been doing your own thing? Is it something intuitive?
Of course, well, my content is very like girl next door. So everything like fashion or going to concerts a lot or sometimes dancing, I post that. So yeah, it did influence me. But I'm like one of like the few people. I don't know if this is such a pick me vibe, but I'm like one of the few people who like tries my best not to be so, influenced by TikTok.
The trends.
Like I have like a time limit phone, everything by the trends.
Okay.
There's a phase that I was like, everyone was like, oh, streetwear, everyone was like dancing, and I was like, oh, I want to get into that. And eventually I realized it was not me. I'm just lying to myself. So,
you just want to be trendy.
Yeah, so I eventually, exactly, that's the term. Like eventually I just went back to who I really was, which is like my style, architecture and fashion and everything else. So, yeah.
Parang what's important is staying true to yourself talaga. It all goes back to that.
It goes all back to staying true and being authentic. Ayun.
Okay. So, we just talked about yung personal influence sa'yo ng social media in terms of getting inspiration for not just yung design mo or archi school, but also parang when you style fashion design, there comes a balance between your own personal style tapos something you take from recent trends. So, something I want to talk about naman is yung opposite. So, 'di ba, when we're creating sa social media and parang maraming small creators kind of doing their own thing and parang posting it online. So, maraming nagte-trend na different styles. How do you guys think it influences yung overall design trends na for clients, they see na, uso ngayon yung madaming plans. We're into really contemporary and tropical design right now. Do you think that has a long-term impact sa actual architecture being built?
Yes. Like first I want to talk about like the TikTok room. Everyone all has LED lights all of a sudden.
Oh my God, that was a phase.
That was a phase. I'm pretty sure ang dami nang nagkita sa mga Shopee at Lazada. So, yes, of course, I think social media will continue, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, will continue to actually influence every decision that we make. So, in terms of design, yes. Well, it also depends on your FYP.
True.
Right? So your For You page. But I think the style that's what I see is gonna trend right now is it's not gonna be so much in architectural design, but more in the metaverse.
Oh.
So
That's
related
gonna
sa
be the new
AI.
world now, I think. Sort of
Actually.
related to that. So I think architecture should, or architectural firms should really more lean into that. So like, what do you call that? Yung
Virtual reality.
virtual reality.
Mhm.
So it's really gonna influence everything, and things are gonna happen really, really fast. And I feel like that said, it's also gonna change the taste buds of people. So you have to keep up really, really fast. But yeah, what I've noticed is that traditional designs or like it is coming back. Like even from clothings, like early 2000s, Y2K, what's this 90s chic is coming back, like Jane Birkin, everything else.
true.
So I think the style from back then is also gonna come back. Like it's happening now, like you went Y2K and everything. So yeah, but so that's pretty much my answer. Back then is gonna come back and also sort of trying to collide with the metaverse. It's so weird, like two different worlds combined.
Yun nga eh. Parang I
Right.
think those are two different groups of people trying to find middle ground.
Mhm.
Pero for some reason, sobrang lakas nung two opposing sides na yun that they have no middle ground.
Yeah.
So it's either you're doing parang throwbacks na Y2K or other previous styles, or as in you're going super future forward
Yeah.
na you're dealing with AI na.
Yeah.
Oh, pero you mentioned that you don't want it to happen.
I don't want it to happen because now we're like I don't mind the Y2K, like the pop culture stuff, that's fine, but like the metaverse thing, that's what I'm sort of scared of. I feel like we're gonna be in one Black Mirror episode. It sort of takes out the humanity side of it, so that's what I'm scared of.
I think that's why actually there's a rise of bringing back old trends because that's kind of their rebellion against it.
I realized maybe that's why it's coming back, the old stuff, because we're like subconsciously don't want to move to the future yet.
Yeah.
Because, there's something about it that we still miss,
Yeah, kasi it's scary. Parang everything, especially yun nga, metaverse, AI, it's all unknown, new territory to everyone. So we don't know
Yeah,
where
we-
it will really lead us.
It
Oo
was
nga
so
eh.
scary. That's so scary. And I don't know. I just don't think, because when you're in the metaverse, I feel like you're just sitting down all the time or always, and it's not normal for human beings. We're not equipped for that. It's so unnatural. That's what I'm scared of.
So I think also in terms of referencing from Y2K then and to metaverse, other platforms then that people these days try to reference. Siguro you guys are sure familiar with Pinterest, right?
Yeah.
Na yan na din yung nagiging main reference parang site for those aesthetic people or those
Yeah.
like creative people.
Actually, just fun fact, what I've noticed, this is why Pinterest is so successful after all these years, is because it never really changed. Because people always strive for something that's familiar,
Oh.
right? Notice that?
That's why people like create
Yeah,
collection
they
or
will-
pins.
Yeah, they will always
Pin
gravitate.
collections.
Like, TikTok happened, Instagram changed, the logo changed, Facebook happened. They all have shorts, but Pinterest is still like sort of the same.
Mhm.
And I think it's a great strategy because people will always crave for familiarity. So, yeah.
It's
So-
risky though. Parang you have to be really confident that your formula works and
Yeah.
it will continue
Yeah.
to work. Kasi marami namang people that medyo matigas yung ulo that stick with their old ways na no, this still works, and then all of a sudden their company
Yeah.
parang stops.
I guess it all boils down to what is your objective. Like, why are you an app? Why are you what kind of firm are you? Then again, to your values, who you are. And I think Pinterest is objective because it's just very visual, like a collection of visual diaries. And that's pretty much, I think that's why it worked.
It's super simple
Yeah.
din kasi.
Yeah. Kasi pag mga video format na or mga Instagram pictures, it's harder now. Kasi the attention span of people, pa-short. Kaya, ayun.
Kaya like the content usually that we see, parang yung nakita ba natin, will this maintain until the future ba? Or yung trends ba on what we see online? Would it stay there for a long period of time ba? Or
Yeah. That's
it just
why-
come out like a one-hit wonder thing like that?
That's why, di ba, another case study that we have for there is fast fashion.
Mhm.
Like, certain brands that produce so much waste because of fast fashion, because they always try to follow the trends and everything. If social media is already doing so much now, what more when it's controlling our everyday lives?
It is controlling our everyday
Exactly.
lives
Like
already.
we can, but at least now it's okay. We could still read a book.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Still go to museums on our own.
It changes the routine.
Everything. So metaverse is so scary because you might just be at home the whole time, not really experiencing life.
It's kind of like Wall-E.
Yeah, dude,
Parang-
freaking Wally.
It's becoming
so
real.
Oh my
scared.
god!
so
Imagine
scared.
like
We're interacting,
Yeah.
pero on the screen, tas we're just sitting.
And we're also unhealthy.
and there
Yeah.
I feel like also the borderline of in the movie Wall-E, the people in the future rely on robots.
And if you notice, there's like a certain pattern. Because remember in Wally, Wally was also reminiscing towards the past.
Mm-mm.
Oh,
So that's what
yeah.
people are doing now. The Y2K past is coming back while the future is happening. So it's like, there's like a pattern. Wala lang, naano ko lang.
Parang it's a sort of rebellion talaga, yung
Mm.
Y2K, or parang reminiscing anything
Reminiscing
in
talaga.
general.
Because we always, then again, like what I mentioned with Pinterest, you always gonna strive for something, for familiarity,
Mhm.
for something familiar.
Mhm.
So, ayun.
Ooh, okay. That's interesting.
In general, the future is
Yeah.
really scary.
An
That's why I
interesting
think we
topic
find
to talk about.
comfort in
Mm.
going to
Mm.
things we feel nostalgic.
That's why I still love books. I can never have a Kindle. Like, I'll forever...
Yung sensation of it din
like
kasi.
buying a book, the smell of a book, writing on the book. I don't know. Yeah.
Seems so pretty nostalgic nga.
Mm-mm.
Parang the world is aging backwards now.
Mm.
What do you mean?
Like there are some people na trying to bring what's in the past to the present
Mhm.
and trying to not make it look that modern
Mhm.
and all. Parang vintage pero with a touch of modernism, I
Mhm.
guess.
Mhm.
I think there's a term for that, yung retrofuturism.
Yun.
Mm.
Retrofuturism.
Parang it looks retro, pero it's the future, parang it's the retro's version of the future.
Yeah, I get
So
that.
everything looks futuristic,
Yeah.
pero
But there's still sort of familiarity with it. Like something
parang medyo
familiar.
nostalgic.
Yeah.
Now that we've talked about the future, right? So I guess now for you as a content creator then, what do you really see or what are you looking forward in the future in content creating or in architecture? What do you really look forward to?
I'm really looking forward to how AI will change our lives.
Wow.
No, I'm really like it's a big, it's so scary because it has so many opportunities and it can, let's be honest, it may replace lots of people's jobs,
Mhm.
replace people, because it's so fast, efficient, and you don't
is.
have to pay anyone labor. But one thing I've read so far is that AI won't take your job, but the person behind AI will. So think of AI like it's a tool, not like your human competitor.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So make the most out of it. Do your research. Then again, when we're faced with something new and scary, face it. Just face it. Don't run away from it, because it will just keep coming back. So yeah. So some of the AI stuff I know. So Midjourney, Dolly, Copy.ai, ChatGPT.
You've tried all of those.
Tried all of those. It works. It really does work. But then again, the scary thing about AI is that you become sort of lazy.
Reliant on it.
Dependent. So
Like the people in Wall-E.
yeah. So that's why I think what I've gathered from this last segment, it's so important to combine traditional and modern, because there's always something you can learn from traditional side and something you can always learn from modern. So you need both.
Mhm.
You will need both. You need each other.
Parang they're complementary.
Yeah, they do complement. Yeah, they do. They do.
Parang renaissance
Yeah.
of old
Totoo.
cultures.
Right?
Parang they're mixed with recent trends.
Yes.
Tapos yung
Future.
the rise of
Yeah.
AI is parang stemming from parang classical attempts or parang attempts we
modern.
did in the past.
Yeah.
So they really complement each other and they grow from
Yeah.
each other.
So don't be scared of it. Embrace it. Let it be your partner.
Mm-mm.
Just don't be scared of it. So yeah, AI, super looking forward to that. especially with social media. I'm a bit scared now because the attention span of people is getting shorter and shorter.
I mean, ever since TikTok boomed, right?
Yeah, so everything's gonna be much more shorter now. I wonder how that's going to be like. Are we gonna eventually end up with just big pictures now? Because like no longer watching just pictures. Okay, scroll. Or another possibility that we'd be so fed up about it and realize I don't want this anymore. I want to go back to the olden times.
There's the rise of TikTok. On the complete opposite spectrum, there's also the rise of podcasts. So parang in a way, katulad ng what we discussed before, that's the rebellion of parang short form media versus 40-minute videos wherein dati it's just like 30 minutes, 10 to 30 minutes yung normal. Ngayon, it's either 6 seconds or hour-long na discussion.
That's why I'm so optimistic. I mean, I love you. I believe in humanity. That eventually we will get into our senses and realize what's good for us and what's healthy for us and learn how to say no when it's no longer natural.
Okay.
Personally ba, are you planning to create parang something else? Parang you're doing content creation pero right now you're focusing on creating in terms of architecture. Are you planning to go back eventually?
Yes, I do. I'm still trying to find a balance with work and social media and content creation. But yeah, I do. And I'm gonna start something, but I don't know if I should say it because it might get jinxed. But you guys
it's a
should
secret project.
Stay tuned for something. It's another passion project I'm gonna do. And it's something that I'm pretty sure you guys will enjoy because it's something that I've been told I'm very good at. And I've actually had this car vlog set. It's sort of like my car vlog segment in my YouTube, but now in a different platform. So stay tuned for that. It's gonna be super fun.
Nakaka-excite na tuloy.
Yeah, I'm gonna have you guys in that platform. I'm telling you guys.
But it's a secret.
Thanks for the invite.
You can tell us after the shoot.
Yeah. So ayun, that's pretty much. Yeah. But yeah, at the end, I just want to say I'm very hopeful about the future and I wish the best.
True. This discussion actually really taught me a lot na parang, yun nga, humanity really does go back to what's right.
Yeah, and they will get into their senses. They will, eventually.
After everything we talked about from your Archie college life journey, and then how you entered content creation and you entering the world of architecture, I really admire how you get to balance all of those stuff. I mean, basically how you get to balance architecture and content creating. Like, it's not a really easy job. Actually, both jobs are not easy.
It's not. I don't know what I got myself into.
Pero I really admire and commend on your passion and your effort on doing it.
And it's nice seeing that side of you. Kasi usually, architect Niña doesn't really
talk about architecture.
Talk about architecture.
Yeah.
You usually talk about other stuff in tangent to that.
And I think what I have learned in this podcast is, first, you really need to value yourself, value your time, and value your effort and hard work. Because since content creating and architecture are both creative professions, and I think what matters is you get to appreciate on really what you do, because the passion is there.
Yes. Yeah, live your best life because you only have one life, really. Before I go, what I want to say is that to everyone watching or listening, I advise you to live your best life. And what does that mean? What does it mean to live your best life? Is to understand that, yes, we are very passionate about our work and what we do, but we are so much more than our job. So don't forget to always rediscover and always evolve and trying out new things, and don't disregard your other passions, your other hobbies, because you have different parts of you, different faces. So go nurture those things. So
that will also go back to you creating.
Yeah, exactly. So stay true to yourself.
Well said.
Yeah, well said.
Oh, and by the way, I just want to say before I go again, like I just find it so crazy how I was just a high school graduate attending a small Babble talk where it all started, and now like few years after, I'm the one giving a talk. Like, one of your guests. I just find out how that's just so crazy.
It's actually really interesting because this is like a full circle moment.
Yeah,
for you,
yeah.
right?
So, you know what? And that said, oh my God, it made me realize, like, you should be at ease because what's meant for you won't miss you.
Ang ganda ng sinabi
That
niya.
was, I really like that. I hope
Ang
people
ganda
learn
ng
from that.
sinabi.
I really hope they do. Bugs!
Bush.
Like and subscribe!
All right.
All right. So
I
with,
guess with that.
said, thank you so much, Niña, for
We had so much fun.
for being here with us today. Do you have anything to plug?
Okay. So you guys can follow my 2 accounts on Instagram. It's called It's Nina Stephanie, and the other account is Architect Nina. You can follow me on, or you can check out my YouTube channel. It's called Nina Stephanie, and I just talk about my everyday life, all of my learnings. And my TikTok, I have a TikTok, by the way. It's called It's Nina Stephanie. And stay tuned for another passion project I'm gonna do. It's sort of related to what we're doing now. Just spreading, but at the same, but it's sort of still the same, just spreading everything I've learned and all the good vibes. So yeah, that's very much it.
We will look forward to your passion project. Yeah.
All right.
For sure. All right.
Thank you guys for tuning in. So see you next episode. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.